We're deep enough into the retrospective to cut to the chase. Macross Frontier. It was very popular, it was very beloved, it's time to milk it. Macross Frontier, the false Songstress, released in 2009 and acted as the first to a two-part movie retelling of the Frontier story. So basically the modern day equivalent to Do You Remember Love. In terms of production crew, basically everyone working on the TV series came back because, well, it only came out a year after the show ended. While the story would start out following the same story beats as the original, even going as far as to reuse quite a bit of footage, Kawamori emphasized that the further it went along, the more and more it'd stray, until it eventually become its own story altogether. I know, these are like joint stories, so I should technically cover them in the same video, but you know how shit works around here. I do things one at a time, so sit your ass down, we're about to fall Songstress out. The movie introduces us to the main trio, but in a much more ominous way than the TV show. Alto's kinda just drifting through space while mumbling about how he wants to experience a real, true sky. Well, Cheryl and Ronka sing the sad ED song. After the title card, we see Cheryl and Grace arrive on the frontier like before. However, things with Ronka have changed completely. Unlike the TV series, she's already well acquainted with Alto and his friends. And instead of Ozma, it's Alto who gets Ronka the ticket to Cheryl's show, which makes more sense since he's the one doing stunt work. As she makes her way to them, we get these neat 3D shots as she sings What About My Star, before delivering them some food from Nyan Nyan. Thank God they brought back the boob dumplings. You guys know how much I love Macross Frontier Gooner humor. We get an overly dramatic scene of Alto taking off where he's like, "Yes, I love the sky, and I love airplanes." He's a man who knows what he likes. Before finally making our way to the concert. Before I even talk about the concert itself, I gotta talk about this part at the beginning, where they recapped all the previous hit idols leading up to Cheryl, and like, I got two major issues here. First of all, why the fuck are we celebrating Sharon Apple? Are we forgetting she was an AI terrorist? And secondly, what the fuck has Cheryl done at this point to be put alongside Lin Minmay and Fire Bomber? Those dudes literally ended wars and saved the galaxy. Cheryl hasn't done anything. She's the ultimate industry plant. What is this? Whatever, this concert's pretty cool. I mean, sure, it's pure goonery, but it's well-animated goonery, so I can slightly forgive it. Also, she's a cowboy now. Yeehaw. Noticing he's going a bit off script, Cheryl begins to shoot Alto with her super heart gun, and then she proceeds to fucking kill herself. I don't know if this quantifies as a Macross fall. Macross Frontier has too many of these. They're falling too close to the sun. There's also soldiers being brutally slaughtered by the Varja outside, and they gave this guy a family and shit to make it extra sad, but who cares? Let's get back to singing. After the show, Cheryl reveals that she was actually wearing a super jetpack skirt because she's not actually gonna trust Alto to catch her. He's a fucking loser. The emergency alarm sounds, which brings us another notable change, as this time Cheryl doesn't leave the concert. This is a change I appreciate, as it leads to this awesome sequence of Alto and Cheryl trying to escape the Varja. I've said it again and again, but I really love how they play with the camera in this 3D space. It looks awesome. And Cheryl falls again, except this time Alto doesn't catch her, so this might be the first true Macross fall. She actually hit the ground. The others are like Macross catches. The whole scene of Alto jumping into the Valkyrie to save Ronka plays out basically the same, except Cheryl's edited in there. Kinda like these fuck-ass Shadow the Hedgehog promo Nicktoon streams. Why is he there? Once Ozma comes to save them, he gets his ass kicked and falls out of his Valkyrie right in front of Ronka, thus showing that they've cut out the whole subplot of him lying to her about being part of the military. And that's something these movies do quite a bit. They cut out subplots that they couldn't afford to expand on within the shorter runtime, and I think it's better off for that. This isn't just the entire TV series squeezed into movies. It's the story rewritten and restructured from the ground up to better fit a movie format. It's a big improvement from Do You Remember Love, as I feel like Roy and especially Kakizaki's deaths were squeezed in, well, just cause they happened in the TV show. They gave you no room to actually care for those guys. Anyways, after the Varja flee, we get the original part of Alto vomiting after witnessing all that, but then they throw us a Brera-shaped curveball. He comes out of fucking nowhere, grabs Cheryl, and he hops like a bunny into the sewers. What is this guy's problem? For real though, considering both Cheryl and Brera are closely tied to Grace, it's one of those things where I was like, oh shit, yeah, wait, why didn't they interact in the series? And that's what I like about these movies. They solve problems I didn't even know I had. Another major plot point the movie introduces is the military suspicion that Grace and Cheryl are spies sent by the Galaxy Fleet, as both it and the Frontier are in some sort of competition to claim the Varja homeland as a habitable planet. With them thinking the Varja arriving at the same time as Cheryl is no coincidence. You could say they believe Cheryl to be the false Songstress. The next stretch of scenes are basically unchanged from the TV series. They explain Ronka's trauma, Alto's invited to join SMS, and we get the park scene where she sings IMO for now the 21st time. It was also during this scene where I noticed how much Ronka's voice has changed. Her voice actress slash singer Megumi Nakajima has said in the past how she felt like her voice lacked emotion, and she struggled to talk outside of her natural tone. So for the movies, she seemed to have put on a more cutesy, energetic voice you're more used to in anime. I don't know if this was a decision by her personally or the directors in charge, but if you ask me, I low-key prefer the more natural tone of the original. Like, yeah, it was just her normal voice, but her voice worked for Ronka. Nakajima herself has said that Ronka is a character she sees a lot of herself in. The original direction just felt more unique. That more subdued tone isn't something you see in a lot of anime. It helped the character feel more grounded. Anyways, she keeps singing IMO, and then fucking Cheryl joins in. Stay out of her territory! Another massive change to the movies is Cheryl also knowing the IMO song, but before we could figure out how, she's called into an audition. How convenient. As a celebratory gift for joining SMS, they give Alto a pipe bomb. That was not in the show. We then get the Cheryl and Alto airing search, with Cheryl directly explaining its ability to convey feelings to others. This is to compensate for the removal of the SMS president scene. The Miss Macross competition happens off-screen, but My Boyfriend is a Pilot is still playing on the TV, so it counts. And as much as it pains me to say, this is the last time we'll hear this song in the retrospective until further notice. What a severely underwhelming way to go out. Rest well, dear angel. May we hear those QQQQs again someday. Seriously, Kawamori, you better play it in the next series. This can't be how it ends! Ronka kills Ozma and runs off, he sends Michael after her, and Cheryl yet again catches butterflies, and this time they added a silly sound effect. That's a 10 out of 10 movie change. Bravo, Kawamori. The Cheryl Alto date montage is basically the same, except we have these random additional scenes of Brera spying on them. And then we get another new scene of them riding on these fast as fuck segways. Cheryl be admiring the beauty of nature and shit, and then fucking falls off a cliff, leading to a whole new boob choke. Yes, that is exactly what I wanted. Thank you, Kawamori, thank you. For real though, it's a sweet scene, aside from this moment where Alto bites into her skin and gives her a future band-aid that just kind of blends in with your skin. I don't know, dude. Cheryl starts singing IMO, and it still makes me uneasy. That's not your song. She explains she learned it from her grandmother, which adds up since even in the TV show, Mao was just kind of chilling there as Ronka's mom sung it. Speaking of Ronka, Cheryl tells Alto that she seems rather lonely and is hopelessly in love with him, trying to persuade him to ask her out, but this is Macross Frontier. He can't just pick one of them. They're both his wings. I'm sorry, I'm still salty about that ending. We get the What About My Star Mall performance with new shots of Brera being like, well golly, these fold waves are crazy high! Cheryl kisses Alto in front of her, Then we get an extended montage of Ronka doing all sorts of wagey antics. There's commercial jingles, these disgusting, like, are those rotoscoped noodles? There's model kits, there's another montage of Alto getting his ass kicked. And now Ronka's mad. Why did he kiss Cheryl? Alto tries following her, being like, well, I can explain. He almost gets hit by a car, and the driver goes, God damn it, in perfect English, and that got a chuckle out of me. And once they arrive in the gas station, she reveals this was all just a troll. This is so freaking wholesome. She just wanted him to hear her commercial jingle. And then Cheryl's music starts playing, and Ronka has to ask, what the fuck happened back there? When trying to describe how he feels about Cheryl, he's like, she's kind of an incompetent dumbass, but damn, she's good at her job. Unlike me, I'm not good at my role. Yeah, bro just starts having an entire existential crisis, explaining that while he was doing kabuki work, he would get so lost in the role that he began to lose his sense of self. He couldn't figure out who really was Alto Saotome. This scene was genuinely a great addition. The movies delve way deeper into Alto's kabuki past, way deeper than the show ever did. It's something he desperately needed, because I feel like the TV show focused on Ronka and Cheryl so much that Alto felt more like a side character at times. Ronka tells him that no matter what role he's playing, Alto is Alto, and he can be whatever he wants to be. Later that day, Ozma tells Alto to stay away from Cheryl, as they believe she's using him as a means to get close to Ronka due to her ties with the Varja and Gallia 4. I mean, why else would a famous idol hang around with a nobody pilot like him? Not wanting to believe it, he goes to Michael for second opinions, where he directly brings up instances of idols being either terrorists or spies, such as Sharon Apple. So if the movie can acknowledge she's a terrorist, why are we celebrating her at the concerts? Before Alto leaves, we get this really weird scene where Michael wraps his arm around him and is like, you know, Alto, I ain't gay, but damn, you are a fine-ass woman. Alright, man. Alto later finds Cheryl's earring and is called to meet her in the park, but he can't do that, she's a spy. While walking home and being stalked by Brera, Ronka finds our boy Aikun, who she takes in and vents to. Her producers told her she needs to be more womanly, and her immediate thought is to ask Alto for help. He would be so pissed if she asked that. But she stops herself, not because that's an incredibly insane thing to ask him, but because she remembers that he actually likes Cheryl instead of her. She sadly goes to the park, where she finds Cheryl herself still waiting for Alto. Noticing what's going on, Cheryl decides to elaborate that the kiss from before was just her doing some trolling, even encouraging Ronka to ask him out and handing them 2 tickets to her latest concert. The two begin singing Imo together, with their combined fold waves causing a reaction in Aikun. Both knowing the Imo song and her apparent ability to generate fold waves raises Cheryl's suspicion, and she asks Ronka if she's a survivor of Gallia 4. While Ronka can't recall, the sight of Cheryl's earrings does indeed trigger some flashbacks in her, but Aikun running off snaps her out of it. The two chase after him together, and Alto, finally deciding to show up, sees what looks like Cheryl chasing Ronka. He's all like, damn, this bitch is a spy, and he shoves her to the ground and starts calling her a fraud and shit. Ronka explains the situation, but Cheryl runs home, calling him the absolute worst, and oh boy, Alto, buddy, you really messed up there. After finding out what happened, Ozma orders for both Alto and Ronka to stay put in their houses until the situation's resolved. And this leads to a fucking insane sequence with Alto and the Fold Quartz earring. Once he touches it, Cheryl's trauma, her pain, her loneliness, it all hits him like a truck. The way this scene's directed, with the tense-ass music, and the candle lighting, and all these flashing shots, it makes it feel like a psychological horror. I love it. And after snapping out of it, he realizes he can't just sit back anymore. He disobeys Ozma's orders and runs to the concert, not only to return the earring and apologize, but to remind her that she isn't alone. even if she doesn't forgive him, even if she is a spy, there's still always going to be people out there willing to give her that genuine love that he knows she desires. She tries pushing him away, but before either of them could do anything, Grace comes out of nowhere all like, "Hey Cheryl, the galaxy's being destroyed by the Varja right now." And then Ozma and Catherine come out of nowhere trying to do a badass ambush arrest on her, but she flips the script. As it turns out, the Frontier Fleet are the real villains. She reveals that the galaxy sent an SOS signal to the Frontier, but the Frontier rejected it, hoping that if the galaxy was wiped out, then they could claim the Varja planet for themselves and monopolize all the resources. Desperately wanting to save all the innocent refugees, Cheryl decides to personally hire SMS herself to go and save the galaxy. This is a scene I really dig. While SMS has always been a private organization separate from the military, it rarely ever felt that way in the TV series, since their goals almost always aligned with the military regardless, just destroy the Varja. Even by the end, they sorta just threw Alto onto the military. So having this moment where they're directly going against the Frontier's government in order to assist Cheryl and the galaxy, it makes them feel like the independent group they are. The next couple of scenes follow the show pretty closely. They fight to save the refugees, Cheryl sings some songs, Ronka sneaks out of her room to see the concert and realizes what's going on through Ozma's voicemail, and the two begin singing together, with Alto's earring allowing him to feel the song. This fight is mostly reused animation, but the new shots they have, such as Alto flying into the mothership or Cheryl's new performance, they all look great. Both Ronka and Cheryl's voices end up emitting enough fold waves to attract the Varja, with the battle now moving to the Frontier. The sight of the Frontier being destroyed and the bodies piling up is enough to awaken Ronka's memories much sooner than in the TV series. Realizing that she's the reason for the Varja's arrival, she believes the only way to rectify this is by sacrificing herself to the Varja. She runs straight at them, offering herself, but Alto isn't gonna let that slide. He goes to defend Ronka, and Cheryl, remembering all the times Alto saved her, decides it's her time to do the saving. Even if her fold waves aren't as powerful, she has to try, and begins running while singing a new song, Obelisk. And in a new movie edition, Cheryl awakens to her true power, her fold waves becoming as powerful as Ronka's. Even Grace is like, "Holy shit, the Galactic Fairy's true power, turn that shit up, Charles." Her voice instills the people with hope as we get these fucking mind-blowing sequences of Alto chasing after the Varja. Seriously, people who hate on the CGI in Macross are genuinely out of their minds. How can you look at this and not think it's the coolest shit ever? Also wanting to protect Ronka, Brera finally steps up and begins fighting alongside Alto, as Cheryl finally begins the final song, the second OP, Lion. While I'd like my finales to have original songs, this is the first movie, so I forgive it, it's still a hype song. Ronka joins in, and Alto does a fucking insane missile dodge, cuts open the Varja, hops from his Valkyrie to grab Ronka himself, and in order to back him up, Michael flies to a higher vantage point in order to snipe the Varja holding his Valkyrie. But he gets Kakizaki'd, we'll miss him. This right here is a super duper double Macross fall, as he catches her, but then the jetpack breaks, and he calls the remote Valkyrie to catch them again. It's fucking awesome. He flies her to the stage where both her and Ronka begin singing. Alto and Brera defend them, and the Macross blows up the mothership. The Varja retreat. The writers show that they actually realized they didn't have the runtime to kill Michael in a meaningful way, thank you very much. Alto and Brera have a bro moment, and it begins snowing. What a Christmas miracle. Ozma's all like, "Snow to mourn the fallen." What a fucking Grinch. Come on, Cheryl isn't bothered by the 3 refugee ships worth of people that got blown up. She said it herself, they did their best. Let's go make a gingerbread house. And the movie ends on a very sweet moment, where Cheryl thanks Alto and Ronka for helping her realize that she isn't alone. This was very much a Cheryl-centric movie, but honestly, so much of the TV show's main plot revolved around Ronka that I don't mind the shakeup. And that's the false songstress. It's honestly hard to give this video a proper conclusion, as it's part 1 to a 2-part story. I feel like I need to cover both of them before giving final thoughts and comparing them to the TV show, so for now I'll just say this. Macross Frontier, The False Songstress is a great film that manages to deliver a conclusive arc to Cheryl, while also laying a solid foundation for the sequel to follow up on. If you're a Macross fan or are looking to get into Macross, then this is a pretty solid starting point. It maintains the same level of quality as the TV show. And I had my buddy Blazer watch it, who's never watched the TV show, and he said it felt like a pretty coherent film. Like, it didn't feel like he was watching a recap movie to a TV show he had never seen. Sure, it reuses footage, but the TV show's animation quality was already so close to movie quality that he didn't even notice what was TV show or movie until I told him. So yeah, great movie, and I'll see you guys next time for the Wings of Farewell. Or Wings of Goodbye, or Sayonara no Tsubasa, I don't fucking know.
私の彼はパイロット